What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan, and on this planet we send it. And what we're going to be getting in today, well, we're going to be getting into a two-part series of installing some boost auto side mirrors on my Jeep Gladiator Mojave. And as a matter of fact, if you've seen the short that I put out just about a week ago, you've already seen the very brief demonstration of what they look like. Now, I will say, if you haven't seen that, don't worry about it. I'll be showing the full resolution one at the very end of this video as the brief demonstration. But the two parts are going to be separated into the installation, and then on the second part I'm going to go ahead and get into more detailed analysis on whether these are the right mirrors for you or not. And so what we're going to be getting to exactly in this video is I'm briefly going to talk about why I chose to partner with Boost Auto, and then discuss what the partnership actually entails, and then we'll get right into the installation. And I will say I recommend using this video as an addendum to the Boost Auto installation video they already have out. And I only say that because there's a few recommendations that I have to potentially improve the Boost Auto installation video, especially if you have a Jeep Gladiator, Jeep Gladiator Mojave. Things are a little bit different, but also I think there's a couple of steps there that will save you a lot of time if you, again, use this particular installation video as an addendum, not necessarily a primary video. I will be briefly walking through all the steps, but where it comes into the parts where I'm making recommendations on how to deviate from the Boost Auto, then I'll spend a little bit more time there. That way you're at least tracking where I'm at with the Boost Auto video and then installation video, and then you'll see where I really dive in, on like, hey, pay attention, because this may save you a lot of time. All right, I got a plan in place. Risks are acceptable. Let's go ahead and send it. So why did I choose to go ahead and work with Boost Auto? Well, they reached out to me and they basically said, let's partner up. We'd like to sponsor a video. And basically what that entails is they sent me the mirrors to my specifications. And then as long as I made a video, which is what this is satisfying, then that was it. So there's no specific discount code. I'm not making anything off of this. And I get to be as upfront and honest as I possibly can. So that was a big thing right off the bat. So after I went ahead and I went to the website and I started, reading what they're all about, and I realized that, hey, it's an American company. They have a lot of experience in towing and making towing mirrors. That's kind of where they started out at. And I figure that would probably be perfect for my Jeep Gladiator Mojave, where, again, I'm not going on too crazy of a hard trails, and then occasionally I do plan to be towing. And so I was like, yeah, that'll be pretty cool. And then the other thing that kind of like pushed it over to me is all of my dealings with Boost Auto, whenever I was calling them everything, everyone was very nice and professional. It's an American-made company, and American-made product. And I just really felt like, because I've had some other sponsors reach out to me, some other people want to sponsor me, I should say, and I just wasn't really happy with the video, the quality of product that they put out. But this wasn't the case for Boost Auto, so that's why I went ahead and decided. And I will say, when I actually started looking at the product itself, I thought, what, they're actually tackling quite a few things within their side mirrors that would be awesome for off-roading, whether potentially hardcore or maybe not so hardcore, potentially up to overlanding, I will say. And I was like, yeah, this seems like it'd be a great product to go ahead and try out, showcase. And so then I decided, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So that's why I went ahead and decided to work with Boost Auto. So let's go ahead and get into the unboxing and in the installation. All right, so before we begin the unboxing, I do got to give credit here. This is some pretty cool, attention to detail here with the mirrors just on the box. So that's kind of a good sign. All right, it came with the Boost Auto shirt. That's pretty cool. Came with the Boost Auto duck, adding that to the collection. Got the different harnesses. Boost Auto stickers. Follow on social media. Koozie. Key tag. Magnet. Some more harnesses. More harnesses. And a little bit more harnesses. And then actually what it has up here is pretty cool, because it has two stickers, one for the each and left and the right mirror, saying assembled in the United States, but the parts are from China. But that's cool. At least they're not trying to hide anything. They're letting it know that they are assembling everything here in the States, but their parts are not necessarily made in America. So you got to respect the honesty. Now we'll go ahead and pull out the mirrors themselves. The only thing in here is just the mirror, so I'm only going to pull out one to show you, and I'm going to put it back in. All right, so the cool thing is that these mirrors are pretty big. The bad thing is when you get onto the trail, you're going to have to be a little bit more mindful of these big mirrors. The good thing is that you are able to pull them in, and so that is the mitigating factor to protect your mirrors. All right, so the first step, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and remove this panel. That's going to include Torx bits behind here and some screws and some Torx bits behind here, all along the edge. And then we're going to pull this entire panel off to include unhooking the locking mechanism and some of the wiring in here. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be doing it on both sides, but only demonstrating it on one. So when using the pick tool to go ahead and pull this trim piece out from behind there to have access to that Torx bolt, go ahead and just find that little notch at the top, use the pick tool to get them behind it, and it pulls out no problem. It's now time to install the side mirrors after taking the old ones out, and I just want to give you a comparison to see what these are looking like. So the good thing is I'm trying to make sure that we don't get the sun all up in your guys' eyes, but the good thing is I do have the blind looking information system, so the triangle is exactly the same and roughly the same spot in relation to the mirror, and then also the defroster on there too, so should not be losing any features. I should be gaining a lot of capacity. All right, when fishing the new cable between here, we are using a fishing tape, and so we thought that the best way for us to do it, the video recommends going from this side into the passenger, well, into the inside of the cabin. We recommend going from the inside to the outside, and they also recommended, go ahead and push, cousin. They recommended that you push, slowly, just keep going. I got it out here now. All right, you're good. They recommended that you roll the window down, and the purpose of that is to make sure that when you route the cable through, you're getting behind this window rail, and that is important, because if not, then when the window goes down, it's going to push the cable down and disconnect you, or maybe damage it even worse. And the reason why I'm showing you this right now is because we actually ended up damaging my tent a little bit, and I'll show you here in just a second. This one we attempted to do the way that they're recommending, and when you do that and you put that there, I really was digging in on my tent, trying to, originally go, sort of both directions. We were struggling going back and forth. So just be mindful that it might be easier for you to do it with your window up to prevent damage on your tent like we did. But just make sure that when you're doing it, you feed the rail, you get it behind the rail that I showed you earlier. One of the things that was different than the Boost Auto video on installing this is they did not have this little clip in here getting in the way. And so what my cousin realized, in order to make fishing this cable through easier, we actually had to, or be able to do it at all, we actually had to release this thing, push that through a little bit, and that allowed a little bit of play of everything on the back to go ahead and feed the wire through. So if you have this part right here, make sure you feed that through, and then obviously you can see once we finished, we went ahead and just clipped that back in. All right, next step is just to go ahead and connect these. Feed it through, and the video goes into making sure that you're feeding it through so that it lays flat and you get it in there nice and easy. A little bit of finagling and it will get in. Then I'm just using the OEM hardware. So the next step, you need to cut this rubber grommet a little so that you can feed the new wire through it, and then we'll go ahead and route the wire all the way down and out. Next, they want us to go ahead and remove the door connectors, so go ahead and pop that off. And then this little rubber piece right here connecting it, you just got to kind of pull and squeeze through, and it will come through with a little bit of finesse. Don't pull too hard unless you're squeezing good, or you'll tear the rubber. There we go. Next, to disconnect the door connector, you got to lift up this red tab. Once you hear it click, then go ahead and lift and remove the tab. Now just like that. Now this next step I'm going a little above and beyond. So what I've done is I've cut some of this cloth tape back so I can have access to the back side of this wiring loom, because what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut the wires here, feed the wire all the way through so it's using this loom to get to the other side, and then I'll go ahead and reconnect the end when I get over there. The audio here got a little messed up, so I'm going to go ahead and voice over the rest of this clip here and let you know what I was trying to say. That it would have been pretty cool in hindsight that if this end connector had some quick disconnects and reconnects attached to it, so you could have fed the wire through without that end piece on it. And then again, I'm going kind of above and beyond, feeding this wire all the way through this wiring loom to make it look a little bit more professional. You know, this is not necessarily on Boost Auto, you know, not in a negative way at all. I'm just going above and beyond. But it would have been pretty cool and actually pretty easy to have, you know, just some quick reconnects at the end of it. So I fed the wire all the way through. I'm pretty sure that would have prevented the damage to my tent. And then I would have been able to get it all the way through and made it look professional right off the jump. And then when I got it through, I'd have just used those reconnects and then plug it all back together. And when all is said and done, we got the wire connected here, got the following, got the zip tie there, fastening it down, got another zip tie here. It's going through the mold, going through the wiring loom, and then out here connected. And then I add a little bit of cloth tape around it to make it look a little bit more OEM. Now we're about to begin the electrical. Go ahead and disconnect the ground for safety purposes. And if you have the aux battery, you need to disconnect this cable here too. Now, depending on which options you have, you may or may not have all the wiring I have here. You may have a few missing. I'm not sure how they package it. But I do want to say you have plenty of wiring. You can probably go around your vehicle twice on the inside with the amount of wiring they have. The only thing is it comes loose like this. And so in order to make it a little bit more professional, I'm going to show you what I opt to do. All right, so I'm showing you two things. Number one, you can see how I wrapped the cable there. And I'm also giving you a view on where I routed it behind the dash. So I went in under there and crossed to the other side, and you can see I kind of went around this plastic trim piece up, and then right here it's where it's going to connect. So I got good space right here, good amount of flex, good amount of slack right here, and I'm routing it all the way over nice and tucked and hidden behind there. And now for the passenger side, I'm just going to run this around and back and under here. And I've given myself, again, I ended up wrapping this probably about like 8 feet total. And that's going to bring me around to here. And I'm getting ready now to ground it out and make sure that we ground under here. I've already taken the trim piece here off according to the instruction video. And now I'm about getting ready to ground onto here. All right, I just kind of want to show you, we got the ground in there. Got a little bit of loose ground showing, some of the black wire showing between the different looms. Just a little extra flex in case I need the slack later on. But then I went ahead and I'm moving on to the white wires, and again I just kind of took this fabric tape and now I'm about to cut it down and then crimp it on to where the video shows you to clip into on pin number 1 for reverse. So after you tap into the ground and the reverse light on the inside of the cabin, now it's time to go ahead and tap into the running lights and the passenger side blinker, as you can see here, right behind the passenger side fender. And although I don't show it in this video, don't forget you're also going to have to tap into the driver side blinker under the other side, under the driver side fender. We are struggling right now getting the rest of the wires into the engine compartment so we can finish up the wiring. Hindsight, I think where the Boost Auto video has you going through the rubber grommet over there, there's actually a hard plastic one on the driver's side. I think it probably would have been significantly easier to get it through. Then once you got into the engine compartment, you would just route it along the top over to where they want you to do everything. And what I mean by on top is you could open this up, and just like I did with this wire, and then route everything over here and do all the work that you need to. Now I'm not going to be using their switch. I'm going to be using the aux switches that I have available here. I'm going to go ahead and be utilizing these, but it's starting to get a little bit dark and the rest of these are just connecting some wires. So I'm going to save you guys a little bit of footage and we'll just jump right to the demonstration unless something comes up that actually needs your attention. But so far the Boost Auto video has been pretty helpful. All right, good morning. So we lost a little daylight last night, so I kind of want to update you guys on where we got and where we ended off at. So we were able to get the 2 connections here for the passenger side blinker and the running light, so that's where we connected here. For the Jeep people that have the aux switches, I went ahead and connected my 2 pink cables through the aux switch number 3. And just keep in mind when you're running your aux switches, I don't know how well you can see, but this beige and green with purple lines, those are a bigger gauge than the other two ones. So your number 1 and 2 is this green and beige one here, and this sort of orange and purple, or correction, blue one right here. Those are your smaller gauge. So I connected into aux switch number 3. Now, as far as running to do the driver's side blinker, where we're going to tap in at, you can see I'm running through the wire carriage. You can see I'm partially the way through to kind of show you what I'm doing. But what I'm going to do is run it along here, and I'm going to bring it out just to down here and then route it down to the fender. The only key thing is here is you do have to take off, this is 2 10mm bolts to take off the washer fluid. And also, these can be a little bit tricky. I was kind of using 2 flathead screwdrivers, one sort of pushing down on the back end, one sort of lifting up the front. And then once you start getting 1 or 2 of them, the rest start getting a little bit easier. But I'm just taking the little extra time to go ahead and route it behind here, just, you know, to make it a little bit more clean of a project once it's all done. All right, so I wanted to give you just a quick look before we move on to the next section on what it looks like as far as once I had it all dialed in. So I took the little cap off here, and you can see that this right here is, you know, with the Tessie tape, with the fabric tape there, it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty OEM. I could have done a little bit better job, you know, if I would have done this a second time. And let me show you what I mean. And as you can see, when you do have the cap on, nothing really shows. So that's actually pretty good. But let me show you what I'm talking about. You can see back here, the wires there, where I was having some of the Tessie tape on it. It does look good where I do have it on it. Unfortunately, you know, I do have a little bit of that little bird's nest there. I wish I could have done a little bit better, but it is up and out of the way, so not too bad, but it's something, you know, I wish I could have done a little bit better. You know, I will say that the driver's side came out the best, you know, looking very nice and clean, with, especially with the Tessie tape. And let me see if I can demonstrate this real fast. These come off super easy. I mean, they do lock in, so they are secure, but if ever you do need to take them off, they come off and on very easy. I mean, you're definitely not going to have a problem if ever you're taking the doors off and have to just remove it, because, I mean, as a matter of fact, this latch right here will be harder than this one. All right, and now we're about to go ahead and finish up the video before we get to the demo and the outro. I just want to summarize the installation on the last item on how I would have done things differently. Like I mentioned, I would have preferred to have gone, you can potentially see where that red power wire is going into the cabin through that grommet right there that Jeep provided. I would have preferred to have brought all the wires out through there, unlike how Boost Auto recommended. And then I would have split the 2 wires into 2. I would have taken the switch wire and the passenger side signal wire, turning signal wire, and I would have Tessie taped them up and then route them behind like I did that single wire. And then on this side, on the driver's side, I would have went ahead, again, Tessie taped it up, and then connect it just here behind the fender at the connection. I would have went ahead and connect the running light, and then also the driver's side turning signal. And I think that probably would have been the easiest thing. All in all, I still was able to get through it. The Boost Auto directions, you know, were effective, and they did help guide us through the process. But that is the, you know, probably the last recommendation I would make on how to make the installation a little bit more user-friendly. All right, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. And I do want to mention that I chose to break up the installation from the detailed analysis, just because if people do choose to use this as, you know, skipping through the video, it's a lot easier to skip through a shorter video than to try to find key parts when it's a longer video. Even though I do chapter my videos, I figured this would be a little bit easier. Plus, it'll allow me to focus on the detailed analysis all in one video. And I will say, if you want to see that, what I'm going to be getting into specifically is whether showing you all the different features so to help the consumer potentially decide whether they want to buy them at all, and then potentially help them decide whether they want to buy, you know, one, two, or all of the features, for example, and at least giving them, you know, an idea of I chose to go with the amber, as you saw with the brief demonstration there, and at least give you an idea of what mine looks like, and potentially if you were to go the same route, especially you have a black Jeep Gladiator Mojave. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.